I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am. I'm here to do whatever I can. Be it early morning, late afternoon, or at midnight. It's never to wanna be.
Distorted realities, origins, the boogeyman. Yeah,
What up? What up? What up?
things that go bump in the night. Yeah, love it. And then we stop. Hi, Frank.
That was a great song.
It's an awesome song.
Yeah.
Casey and the Sunshine Band, folks. J Rock, Frank Walls.
That's me right here.
You don't want to give him the traditional
What up, guys? It's
So-
the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. J Rock.
So, today we're going to talk about the boogeyman origins, right? It is so trivial yet so simple. I think every kid and adult around the world must have experienced something to the equivalent of a boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
Let me just adjust the camera a bit so that we can get a better view of Mr. Walls. And there we go. So, before we begin the show, we're doing this audio podcast is essentially to discuss the origins, but to really give some updates also. It's kind of like the warm up before the new season
Oh,
comes
yeah.
in. So, first things first, season 2 of Distorted Realities. It starts on October 6th on YouTube. However, we now have the ability to make our influence in other areas of the interwebs. So we will be on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch,
Wow.
all at the same time, every Sunday at 5, starting October 6th.
Nice. That's
So-
awesome.
So what's happening in season 2, right?
A lot of things going.
A lot of adventure.
Ah.
Trailers. We did some mock-up trailers to have some fun and to not take ourselves too serious. We interviews.
Yeah. And we visit the famous Devil Chair as well.
Yes, we did. And you're in for a treat because we discovered a lot more about that town
Yeah.
than we bargained for, and it was a delight. Yeah. So what can I say, right? We have that, and we're super excited.
Super,
As you can
super.
see, this is a more intimate setup for the
Mhm.
audio cast. Of course, we're going to roll you to a different scene where you actually get to see some AI montage that we did as we speak about the boogeyman. However, as usual, we got to give the proper notifications. If you, the viewer, have a story to tell regarding paranormal, eating experience, a cryptid, or you desire to just be part of the show and share some knowledge that we aren't aware of, you can send us an email at contact@thedistortedrealities.com, and we will more than gladly listen to your story. And what we're doing now is, as we do the interviews, we get the story privately first. We
Yeah.
create an AI video story that matches the depiction of what the person is saying. We play it in the background while the person is sitting there talking in front of the green screen. So this is a whole new thing for us. We hope you enjoy it when you start seeing it. The other thing is Printify, right? We have a Printify store. Like the merch. So as you can see, we got the fit, J Rock, Frank Walls on the shirt. We also have a brand new coffee,
And the Jetty Blend.
the Yeti blend, right? So if you want to, support the channel and support us, you can go to https://distorted-realities-shop.printify.me/product. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
we have some of the stuff there. So, so this whole setup is really to collect whatever we've acquired from season 1 to showcase our passion for the macabre, the mysterious,
Oh, yeah.
the weird, right?
The
and
unknown.
the unknown, and we venture into these things with love, with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of optimism that we can demystify some of these things, and
Oh, yeah.
other things we want to confirm. And again, just a disclaimer, we're not subject matter experts. We're just two guys who are just like you, who are curious, and we endeavor into looking into these things because we're passionate about it. More importantly, it allows us to understand other things, right? Like cultures and understand religions and understand, a whole myriad of things, right?
Exactly.
So go to the Printify shop. However, quick notification about Printify. If you have a TikTok and you go to the Distorted Realities TikTok shop, you will see that the prices are cheaper and you get free shipping. All right. Just understand that the merch for TikTok is usually prepared so that you get fast delivery. So I can't put all the merch that some of the merch is not TikTok ready, essentially. Um, so yeah. With that being said, Frank, why don't we just translate this in our native tongue,
Yeah,
Spanish?
Spanish. There
Yeah.
you go.
So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, let's start with this. So, hola, 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 hola a todos. Estamos aquí, Frank Walls y J Rock. Le damos la bienvenida de nuevo. Dijimos que íbamos a regresar a esta temporada número 2 más fuerte, con más material para ustedes, para su disfrute. Ya vamos a ir subiendo los videos a los sitios que hemos visitado. Tenemos otras visitas que vamos a hacer, si Dios permite, este weekend. Tenemos la mercancía, como pueden ver, tenemos las camisetas, gorras, ahí tenemos café. Contamos con su apoyo. Si puede, en el mismo canal está el link para la tienda de nosotros. También si va a TikTok, también tenemos una tienda ahí también, en el cual los artículos son un poco más económicos y tienen free shipping. Y nada, estamos muy orgullosos y felices de estar aquí. Bien, muy contento. Tenemos un par de gente en el chat. Tenemos Kid Dan Gaming in the let me read this. In the Rock Voice. Finally, the story reality has come back to you. YouTube. Yeah.
For your viewing pleasure,
There
Kid
you
Dan.
go.
And it's good to hear from you, just to be very upfront. Kid Dan was one of our influencers who was one of the reasons why we started this. So shout out to Kid Dan. Much love to him.
Well, we got a Warlord GGP. Welcome back, Joe. Audio's really good. Thank you.
Awesome.
We got Mirla Barbosa. Hi guys.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
We got yeah, that's all for now, guys. Thank you for your
Alright.
support, guys. Really appreciate that. Gracias.
So now let's segue into the creepy, right? So the Boogeyman. It's a lot to talk about.
A lot.
And just so you know, we're gonna switch our screen now to AI montage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why not? We're gonna disable the background music.
Nice.
That's playing there, just for now. Yeah. So let's look at this from a different angle and play some nice music to really set the mood, right?
There you go.
So the Boogeyman. Things that go bump in the night. You know that when I was a kid, you know, it's every kid's story, but
There's a monster in my closet.
yeah, isn't that something?
It is.
I think we all did that at some point.
Yeah.
And why is it important? Because we don't know where that comes from. It's scary.
It is.
You know, the origins behind the Boogeyman is just as enigmatic as what we perceive it to be ourselves. Isn't that something?
El Cuco.
So, in Latin American culture, specifically Puerto Rican culture, we refer to him as El Cuco.
El Cuco.
In Colombia, it is
El Coco.
El Coco,
El Coco,
right?
yeah.
Our coffee blend.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that predates it that says this is the origin of
The Boogeyman.
the Boogeyman. Now,
Baba Yaga.
right? So the Boogeyman is referenced as the Baba Yaga, but the reality is that it isn't the Baba Yaga. It's actually something else altogether. So there are various depictions, but let's start off with something called the etymology. The study of words is called etymology, folks. And essentially, the boogeyman has definition. So let's look at that definition real quick. Uh, the word boogeyman is used to describe a monster in English, right? It's derived from the Middle English word buggy or bogey, which means frightening specter, terror, or scarecrow. It relates to Bogart or the bugbear, from bug meaning goblin, scarecrow, and bear, an imaginary demon in the form of a bear that ate small children. Oh, ain't that something? It's also used to. It also meant. It was a general object of dread. Right. By the way, all this information you can get from Google, Wikipedia. There's tons of this Monsterpedia if you want to look at it. But we're just sharing it with you as is. Again, we're just two guys who are digging into this stuff, and we're just super excited to find out where things come from. So bugaboo, right, which is a similar word in parent meaning, may have arisen from the alteration of bugbear, right? So the boogeyman itself, it's known from the 15th century. That's the oldest term, the oldest the word was used, right? So why don't you give us a little more of your research?
Wow. Okay, this is what I got. This is I did a little bit of research, but it was not a little, it was a lot. But this is what I got. It says the boogeyman origin story. It says the origin of the boogeyman is difficult to trace back the myth's global prevalence of the often changing nature of the monster. However, here is some information about the origins of the boogeyman. Word origin: the word boogeyman comes from the Middle English word bug or boogie.
Bogey.
Bogey, yeah.
Yeah.
Which means frightening specter. The term boogie itself began in the middle 1800s as an expression for the devil or demonic entity. First reference: the boogeyman was first referred in the 16th century England in relation to the hobgoblin, which were believed to torment humans. The purpose: the boogeyman was generally thought to have been invented to serve as an caution to deterrent to children.
So let's stop there for a
Yeah.
sec, right? Because we already speak about the word, but let's describe them for
Yeah.
a second. Let me go into the physical description. Uh the boogeyman, right? Is described, and there's commonalities between the description, right? But has claws or tenon like features in its
Mhm.
hands and feet. Um some of them vary from culture to culture. Some of them say that it's a spirit entity. Um Similar to or akin to that of demons or witches or tied into witchcraft, right?
Gotcha.
And there's some common variants. Some of them describe it as an animal,
Yeah.
right? And it has features such as horns, hooves,
Like a hybrid, right? Like
and bug-like appearances. So, but this is across cultures. It varies from place to place,
even
right?
the name change depending
Yeah.
the different cultures and countries.
Right. So there are some cultural variants, and of course we'll start off with the common one. The first one is called the sack man,
The Sackman.
right? So the sack man is just another variant of what we call the boogeyman. It's exists in Latin American cultures.
Yeah. In Mexico, I think they call them the el ropa viejero. Algo así.
Yeah.
They put the kids on a like in a sack.
Yeah. So basically, you'll find this in Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Paraguay, Brazil, and some of the Latin European countries such as Portugal and Spain. Um, it is also sometimes referred to as el hombre de costal,
There you go.
right? And el hombre de la bolsa
Mhm.
or el hombre del saco,
Like
right?
El Silbón.
Right? So I mean, it's
Right.
possible, right?
Yeah.
But that's just one variant to say the least. Now, then there's el coco, right? El coco comes from Colombia, and we covered this in season 1 of Distorted Realities, and I thought it was the epitome of what I envisioned the boogeyman to
Mhm.
be, right? A creature that hides in a closet or under your bed, very, you know, sharp fangs, lit up eyes, you know. There's different variations of this thing, but I envisioned that the only difference is that El Coco really haunts the jungles and the towns of Colombia.
There you
He's
go.
not necessarily hiding in your closet, right? Um, this, by the way, it's originated in Colombia, but there's sightings reported in Guatemala, Peru, Mexico, Salvador, Honduras, Venezuela. However, what do we call El Coco in Puerto Rico?
El Cuco.
Not to be confused with Tonio
Doña
Rosario,
Rosario.
the famous merenguero. Essentially, in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Chile, Uruguay, Panama, and Argentina, they refer to it as El Cuco. In Mexican American culture, it's El Cucuy.
El Cucuy.
El Cucuy. So this one is interesting because this monster hides underneath the beds of children at night
Wow.
who misbehave. So for you kids who are listening out there,
Yeah, behave.
just remember this.
There's a monster in my closet.
Yep, that's pretty much it, folks. So, so I guess I'm gonna stop there for a second and go into our personal interpretation of what El Coco is. Like, what was the earliest depiction of this when you was
When I was a kid,
Yeah, like
I don't know. I remember the first house that I remember leaving. I used to wake up like all night and wanted to go to my parents. They was so afraid because I had to go through a hallway. You know?
don't you notice that it starts with the hallway?
Yeah. So it was. I remember being maybe I don't know like 7. I remember that like sometimes I would wake up middle of the night. I feel on myself alone, everything dark, and I'll be like, want to go to my dad's rooms, you know? And then when I opened the door, that was the worst part because I see the long hallway, and I'm like, I have to cross the hallway.
So let me tell you what came out of
Yeah.
my experience, because my experience resulted in me having a thing for closing doors at night. When I was a kid, you know, my mom and I were avid horror movie watchers.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a horror movie that we wouldn't dare watch. However, there was something about movies that had things in the closet, you know, with gazing eyes, lit up eyes, you know, looking at you. There was a show called Tales from the Dark Side. It aired every Sunday. And there was an episode called Monster in the Closet. And I'll never forget it. There's a movie called Monster in the Closet as well, but this particular episode had this creature that was no hair, about goblin sized,
Gotcha.
pale, with these huge, ginormous red eyes and these fangs, and that mortified me, you know. But as you get older, why does the fear persist? I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of people know about that these monsters are 9 out of 10 times not real,
Yeah.
but we know that there's something scarier than these monsters. We call them human beings, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they do bad things and they're aggressors or these malevolent entities that want to do something. They hide in your closet and they
Oh,
wait
yeah.
when you're the most vulnerable. And when is that? When you're sleeping.
When you're sleeping, yeah. I
right?
imagine.
So growing up was the thing. But you know what sucks about it? Parents are guilty as well for that. Because to send you to sleep, you know, as kids, you don't want to go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
The mama go, you better go to sleep because El Coco's gonna get you, right?
Yeah.
And then you're
They-
like, damn,
They
like
create
really?
that on your how you call that?
Right.
The
On their psyche. Like
Psyche,
it
yeah,
really
there you
plays
go.
a role on that. So for me, you know, it was very I wouldn't say that I was scarred by it, but it was very much prevalent in an important piece of my life in some crazy way. Right?
You know what? What was one of my sad part? Me growing up, I don't know why. Yeah, the house that I lived, and I was there until I was like 25. Didn't have like a closet door. There was no
Oh,
closet
he was
door.
screwed.
So we had a curtain. It was like curtains. So Puerto Rico, there's no AC in houses. So
Mhm.
you got the comes through the window.
Oh
And sometimes
man.
we'll move the curtain from the closet, and everything's pitch black. What you see?
So you see that, and
Yeah,
then you
and
hear
you're
this.
like, oh,
In your mind, you hear this.
Frank, I'm coming, Frank. I'm going to eat your soul, Frank.
And then the funny part, the only thing you solve it was like you put the blanket
Over
cover,
your head.
and it's like
And you know what's the funny part? We really think this shit is like a
blanket is
shield.
magic.
It's a
Yeah,
shield.
like
Yeah,
a
it's
shield.
magical. Like nothing can touch me if I barricade myself with this. You
That's
know.
crazy.
Lucky it wasn't the sack man, because he would have just turned it into a sack and just dragged it
Grab
out,
it,
right?
that's it.
So anybody online?
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of people. We got a shout out to Yvette. Welcome back, guys.
Awesome.
Keep Dan Gaming again. Appreciated that, guys. Much love to you guys as well. Thank you, Keith Dan. Play it safe. You know how it is. Corali Sotero. Welcome back, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support.
So let's go back to an interesting thing, right? That these creation stories come about for all these kind of creatures, and everybody has a story. So what did you find about the creation of the boogeyman?
Okay, the creation of the boogeyman, because of the nature of the tales of the often indistinct of changing nature of the monster, it is impossible to trace the character to a single origin in any culture, much less globally. It is generally throughout the boogeyman was invented to serve as a caution or deterrent to children. What is the meat of the boogeyman? In America, boogeyman is urban legend. Describe him as a scary figure with no consistent shape or form. He hides under the bed, in dark corners, or in child's closets, waiting for his prey. In other countries, he's a man who wears all black with a sack and kidnap bad children to either keep them or eat them. Wow,
That's insane, right?
crazy. I got
so-
some
So let's go.
names, different names here from the boogeyman.
So go ahead.
He says Albert Fish,
So we're gonna talk about Albert Fish, but keep going.
Baba Yaga, the Boot Ghost, the Boogart, the Coco, Companions of Saint Nicholas, Errol Honing, the Ghoul, the Hook, Jack the Ripper, Kappa, Krampus, La Llorona, Madame Koi Koi, Michael Myers Halloween, Niam, Oi Boogie, Sackman, Jellycoat, Spring Heeled Jack, Glenderman, Struwell Peter, Jama, that's the Buddhism, the Jama,
Right.
Jarama Jahu. Wow,
So real quick.
weird name.
So what happens is,
I stay with the Coco.
um, so what happens is that a lot of these names, right? They kind of are inherited by. Let's find something. See if this works. So what happens is a lot of these people that inherit the title of the boogeyman have done some heinous crimes, because this is the part that a lot of people don't understand. When you're often referred as the boogeyman, you are something outside of the norm, and not in a good way, right? Albert Fish is a known serial killer,
Oh wow.
/ cannibal, that ate humans and
Wow.
killed a lot of them. Jack the Ripper. Of
Yeah.
course, we know that he's from
London.
London, and he ended up annihilating a whole bunch of women, eviscerating them, and doing all sorts of heinous acts John Wick the movie.
John Wick, yeah.
Right? They
Don't
refer
mess
to him
with
as
the
the
Baba
Boogeyman.
Yaga.
So now there is a difference. The term Baba Yaga in other cultures is not what you think
Yeah,
it
it's
is. So the Baba Yaga is actually a witch
There you
that
go.
lives in a house that has
the hag,
these
right? The
roost-
hag.
Yeah, it's a hag, and the house has these giant rooster feet, and
Oh.
it's almost like she has this illusion magic thing going on. But in the movie, the Baba Yaga is kind of referred to as the Boogeyman, right? Somebody's on the chat.
Yeah, we got a shout out to Jacob Adorno. Woohoo! What's up, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining in.
We got a Juanca Rosario. Dímelo, Frank. What's up? What's up, Juanca?
Hey. So just so you guys know, the lines are open if you want to call and share your experience or your story as a kid with the Boogeyman. Call in. You'll get free merch. It's on us.
Recuerden que pueden llamar al número que está en pantalla y si alguna vez han tenido alguna experiencia paranormal o fuera de lo normal o no normal, pueden, pueden llamarnos al 1904-803-7327. ¿Ok? Aquí hablamos inglés y español, mi gente, sin miedo.
So why don't we just like reverse engineer this now and just go back to this in Spanish, right? So you could explain it to the Spanish audience.
So, esos nombres que yo mencioné ahorita son los diferentes partes, porque hay muchos nombres más por el cual se le conoce al famoso cuco o coco.
Pero no para confundirlo
Sí, con el merenguero,
con
no.
Toño Rosario.
No es el Toño Rosario, no. El cuco de que le hablaban a uno de chiquito, que uno se asustaba y decía, te va a coger el cuco, no hagas eso. Pues esos nombres eran, como le dicen en diferentes países. Estábamos hablando de la historia, el origen, que pues está debajo de la cama, lo ven en los closets, los diferentes nombres que tienen diferentes países y lo que pues, que algunos dicen que se comen los niños, otros que se los roban, cosas así. Y recuerden que pueden llamar. Estamos aquí a su disposición. Okay?
Yeah, so how traumatizing is it, right?
Yeah, it is.
Como traumatiza a uno, ¿verdad?
Sí, esas madres nos decían, te va a coger el cuco, mira. Y uno allá asustado.
Yeah.
No quería dormir después uno.
So,
Entonces después te peleaban porque no te quería levantar para la escuela.
porque no dormiste,
No
¿verdad?
dormiste toda la noche. Si el cuco te iba a coger. Ay,
So that's really the crux of the issue, parents. Don't
right.
use that against your kids because they will not sleep. You would assume half the time they were playing video games or something.
Yeah.
No, they just couldn't. They were looking at the closet for 8 hours.
Yeah. Staring the closet.
So what makes this terrifying really is 90% of it is a play on the psyche. How your mind can play a trick on you. Have you ever stared in a black room, dark, pitch black, and not be able to like understand how your mind can create an image of what you perceive to be the boogeyman?
Oh yeah.
It's insane, isn't it? Right? It drives me. Like it's almost like terrifying to understand. But at the same time, it's always eluded me like how my brain works. And it's not just the boogeyman, it's anything that you can envision to be terrifying. You know? Your imagination can be your best or your worst friend in some cases.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of like the crux of what I think the boogeyman can induce. I think it's a fear-inducing construct that made by the imagination of a human being. Right? It's almost like dealing with texture. You touch something and it feels good, you can apply to it. But then there's things that you just do, like you eat something that has a bad texture, you don't want to eat it again. Right? Same thing with the mind. Your mind has texture. It goes and creates all these different constructs, but it can also create the things you don't like. Right? And all you need is the right conditions to create it.
¿Sabes qué me daba miedo a mí mucho? Las películas de Jason.
Really?
I don't know why Jason was and I think and I even had a dream like I was like being followed and it was like a dark shadow.
Did you hear it? Like
Maybe. But I always had that dream. I haven't had that dream in a while, thank God. But I was like something following me. It was like a dark figure, really tall. And then I stopped
Wow.
and I want to fight him. And when I fight him, I couldn't
You
do
lose.
nothing.
You
Yeah,
lose.
no, I lose. Yeah.
You lose. It's a
That's
unfortunately it's the never ending plight, right? When you're dealing with something you're not understanding, uh you're coping to figure out how these things work all together. And you always think about the worst case scenario. You don't think about optimizing the win, right? But let's go back to some more research. Because in German folklore, the boogeyman is called the Butzemann.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if I'm saying that right. It just sounded cool coming out of my mouth. I think.
Right.
Right? So this one in particular has various appearances, such as a gnome, un duende, an animal, or a devil. They show up in very specific places, such as a forest, bodies of water, cliffs, cornfields, and vineyards. So they're not in your home. They're just waiting for you to be that one kid that wants to escape, run away from home late at night to have fun and
Then that's
explore.
when the
Precautionary tale, right? Like, go ahead, go outside.
what a coincidence.
So then there's these otherworldly cultural iterations of it. So Afghanistan has the Madar-e-Al, right? It's a nocturnal hag.
A hag.
A
There you
hag,
go.
right? And it slaughters infants in their cribs, and it's invoked to frighten children into obedience. See, this thing is parental. I think it's like 90% parental, right?
I think it's the dad that went rogue.
Right? In Albania, it's called the Buba. And guess what? It is a serpentine monster, snake-like, slithering into your bed sheets. You know? So for those of you who are in love with snakes in a bad way, the Buba's gonna get you, right? Then you have this is a weird pronunciation, and I hope I don't butcher it, because again, I have huge respect for culture. But Azerbaijan, right? It's called the Div. It's a hairy giant that eats children,
Like a Bigfoot.
like Tartaria giant.
There you. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So it was smarted and defeated by a clever young boy named Jertzdan, a popular hero in their Azerbaijan fairy tales.
Wow.
In Belize, what do we call it? The Tata Duende.
Hasta duende.
Yeah. So a mythological
I
goblin.
like that name.
Yeah.
Tata duende. Right?
It's but you know, in Puerto Rican culture, we use tata or like
That's a
tin
tia,
tatara.
right?
You know, like we use that as a phrase to like to create hierarchy,
Mhm.
right? So I find it interesting. But Tata Duende is a goblin, mythological, small stature with a beard and wrinkles and backwards feet. Who else has backwards feet?
We remember that was the
The
Siwapa.
Siwapa, right? So,
There you go.
so you could see commonalities in a lot of
Wow.
these things, right? In Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, and North Macedonia, you have the Barbaroga,
Wow.
right? Which is the variant of the Baba Yaga,
Baba Yaga.
meaning hag, and rog, meaning horn,
Mm.
right? Or it's the horned hag,
The
basically.
horn hag.
It's commonly attributed characteristics of the boogeyman. Details very. So this is more. It's always manifesting as a hag who hunts irreverent children, right? So I think the Baba Yaga. You ever heard of the story Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is the Baba Yaga is the root origin story of Hansel and Gretel. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense.
So Brazil and Portugal. It has a crazy name.
What?
It's called Bicho Papau.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. Eating beast. Or it is also called Saronco,
I don't.
which is deep voice man.
Wow.
So he'll show up into your room
Te voy a comer.
and then you end up with the same thing all over again. You know, it's a repeat, it's a recycling.
There's a monster in my
There's
closet.
a monster in the closet. Now we know what it is. The Inuit, which is Indian,
That sounds. We talk about that.
the Indian culture, it's called the Rock, right? And it's said to kidnap children, hide them away, and abandon them. The children cannot convince the Ijurak to let them go. They can use Inukshuk to find the way home.
Wow.
I don't know what Inukshuk is, but I'm now curious as to what that is, right? So
Is it nunchucks?
no, not
No,
nunchuck. it's possible.
Maybe they
right?
want to fight the monster with
right,
it, right?
right. So Canada have something called Bonhomme de Hughes. That's how it's pronounced. The 7 o'clock man. So the children are cautioned to go to bed by 7 p.m. or else they'll take it away by the 7 o'clock man. We had something like that in New York. It was called 5 o'clock news. The 5 o'clock channel, Fox New York, it had this one commercial that would say, "It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?" And I think every kid that saw that went to bed right away. Like, it was terrifying. So that's what that is.
I used to have a. There was this is kind of crazy, but I used to play in front of my house with my neighbors, and there was every time at 8 o'clock they would put it was like a puppet.
Uh-huh.
It was called Burbujita,
Oh, shit.
and they used to play that on randomly at 8 o'clock. Boom, and that's how I would hear that. Because my mom, I don't know why my mom put the TV really loud so I could hear it.
You would run home.
I would
right?
run home, man. I was like, shit.
What about that, right? We should do just a separate segment on puppets,
Yeah.
right?
Puppets are crazy.
Yeah, so I get it, right?
Do you remember Topo Gillo?
Yeah, Topo Gillo, yes, I do.
That was kind of creepy.
It is. It is. So yeah, so we have the 7 o'clock man. Greek culture has the boogeyman, but it's called koulas, right? And it's described as a hooded man that's deformed, and puts misbehaved children in a bag and take them away from their homes. In the Czech Republic, right, you have the equivalent, right? It's let's see how am I gonna ubak, right? Or strasidlo.
Wow, that
Right?
sounds good.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Strasidlo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man, I'm getting there. What do we have on the chat?
We're good.
All right, so we have that. Of course, Rasidlo has something very special, right? Because it's kind of points you to a story that ties into the evil version of Santa Claus.
Oh, okay.
And
Like
his
Krampus.
name is Krampus.
Krampus. There
Yes,
you go.
Krampus. So you have that as well. Egypt. And again, I don't want to butcher this, but it's so cool, right? It's called Abu Digl Malushka or Maluksha, which translated into man with burnt skin and legs.
Like a hag, yeah, again.
No, it's a man with burnt skin and legs.
Oh, burn skin?
yeah,
I thought it was, okay. It was a bird skin.
yeah. So
Burn. Wow.
he grabs naughty kids to cook and eat them.
Like Freddy Krueger.
There you
Freddy
go,
Krueger.
Fred.
There you go. The
Uncle
burnt
Fred.
Skin.
So yeah, so I mean the list is long, right? I'm just pointing out like every single culture that has this stuff. But then of course we already spoke that there are individuals who have performed this in real life. It's they inherit the title. You have I'm curious as to Buddhism. How do they see?
Oh, it's in there. Go down.
No, I'm just trying to look at it from this, right? From this list.
Remember, guys, you can always call us. Give us a heads up, a call. If you ever had a paranormal experience, you can always call to 1904-803-7327. Remember.
So yeah, so I think all in all, the boogeyman is inherently is just something that we. Here's what I think the boogeyman is, and I think the boogeyman is the thing we fear the most.
Gotcha. That's why you take different forms
That's
and different.
exact,
Gotcha.
right?
So it's implanted in your psyche, and then
Right.
your brain will form. It's the one that we're gonna give them form to the thing that you're most afraid of.
Right.
So if you're afraid of a man-like bird, you're gonna see that.
Yeah.
If
or
you're like
yeah.
afraid of a witch, you're gonna see a witch.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, you can think about it, right? For example, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
He was so prominent in his time that people were just fear stricken
Yeah.
throughout all of London. Like, who's next, right? So the same can be said about Albert Fish. The same can be said about a lot of individuals who were out there, doing these things. So, has there ever been any documented cases of the boogeyman really eliminating any real people?
well, that we know of, because
So-
some of them said that they kidnap kids and stuff like that, and maybe, how can I say it? If you wake up and your kid is not there, the last thing you're gonna think it was the boogeyman.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're gonna think either he's escaped or somebody
So-
kidnap him, but you're not
so
gonna attach the
That
boogeyman to that. You know what I mean?
that
Only
makes-
the kid will know.
that makes for an interesting thought.
Yeah.
How many disappearances have been reported where they're completely unexplained in their own homes,
Yeah.
and there's no trace that shows the kid leaving the house
Yeah.
ever, right?
That happens a lot.
What if that boogeyman is real, right?
Could be.
Wow. That'll be something.
We can even attach that to like aliens abductions. You never know.
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of people have said I have heard documentaries about people being in their bed. They get that sleep paralysis, right, and they see like a dark figure or whatever, and sometimes they take him and they see a lot of stuff, and they appear back in their room, or they get like in a trance or something. Maybe they were taken to a ship. Whatever. I heard.
Did you just use air quotes? Are you saying you don't believe in aliens
No, I'm saying
or alien abductions?
No, I'm saying that that's the quote is for what I heard. I'm not 100%.
Right.
It
So-
could be fact, but
So let's narrow this down because we're running out of time. You know, this is an hour-long episode, and I think it's time for us to really decide what we want to believe in, right?
mhm.
So, do you believe in the book?
Well, when I was
So
growing up,
do you want me to put creepy music to
yeah,
fill in the?
put some creepy music
Okay,
here.
hold on. Let me
The one with the beat. The one was
this one. Stop the background here. Right, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this is that when I was growing up, I grew up in a good family environment. Thank God, it was really good, and I had two older sisters, and yeah, I mean, I was afraid. I remember, like I was said earlier about the hallway. You know, it was scary. You know, sometimes I will knock my dad's door, my mom's door, and they would not open because they were so asleep, and I would just sleep in the hallway. You know,
What did you believe?
I
Do you
mean-
think it's real?
how can I say? I mean, this is what I think, right? This is me thinking. I think when you are a kid, right, you are innocent, right?
Right.
And I will say that maybe you have that a sixth sense is more alert. That's my hypothesis, right?
He still hasn't answered the question, folks.
So when you're a kid, this is what I think that you are more
Susceptible.
susceptible to different stuff because you are innocent, you know, and You know, you're a new human being. You know, so I think you can see stuff that maybe grown-ups cannot see because they're already like they're old. They lost that connection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe what you're seeing is it could be in a spectrum, right? That maybe it was passing by that moment, and you were able to spot it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it could be that. It could be your own imagination. It could be a lot of stuff, but that theory is my theory.
All right. So he still hasn't said if he believes or not. He gave you a hypothesis, not his personal opinion. So I'm going to give mine. I'm going to choose my song. Ladies and gentlemen, the Boogeyman is as real as you can get it because it is as real as you imagine it to be. It is all food for thought. Every time you think about something, good or negative, you can project and manifest that thought into some kind of reality that only your eyes can see. Right? And this is psychologically proven, you know, that we can sometimes imagine things and perceive it as if it was there in real life. Right? You have to have razor sharp focus to understand that you have to have some sense of control of your mind, right?
Oh,
When it
yeah,
comes to that.
definitely.
And this is notwithstanding people with psychological disorders and things like that. We're talking about the average normal human being. But then there's the other part, the things that affect us in life. Trauma.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
And my thought is that it's real. And why is it real to me? Because as a kid I experienced it. And you did too.
Yeah.
And I can't deny it. I just stated it in a public forum. Now a lot of people won't do that, right? But when I say it's real, it's not a monster I can grab and hold. It was a monster I created in my head,
exactly.
right? This is when I say that it's not a spirit entity or anything like that. It's really something I envisioned and created based on my dislikes. And during that depiction of my time, as Frank alluded to, my sixth sense were probably hindsight because when you're young, you're very perceptive to things that the average adult loses over time.
Exactly.
Right,
Like imagination, a lot of stuff.
So yeah, I think it's very real. And when I say it's very real, I challenge anyone to tell me a story and say it wasn't if they experienced it at some point.
Hmm.
And I think that there's nothing scarier outside of a human presence that's malevolent than your mind playing tricks on you.
Oh yeah.
Because here, I'm gonna freak your head out. Your brain is one of the first things that has ever been created.
Yeah.
Right? What processes what you see? Your brain.
Your brain.
What can control your thoughts? Your brain. Not you, your brain. Literally, if you create habit, your brain will automatically tune itself into it.
Let me tell you a quick story, real quick. When I grew up, there was no fences around houses, right?
Mhm.
There was no fences.
When it was safe.
Yeah. So I used to cut to get to the next road. I used to go to my friend's house, right?
Yeah.
So I was going. It was a night, and I was going back to my house. So I had to cut to my backyard friend house. My friend was there, but it was pitch black.
Oof.
So I'm by myself, thinking I'm nothing, just going home. And he scared me. And it was so dark. I just saw like a monster. You know what I mean? And I run like I get to my house so fast. And when I get to my house, I'm like, and then I think that was Hector, my friend. I was like, what the?
What
But
were
it
you
was-
imagining,
But
right?
I imagined like a monster, and it was him, and I was like, "This sucker." But hey, that's,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody on the chat there? You want to check?
yeah, we're good.
All right. So
I
what
remember.
about we run the last 10 minutes in Spanish so that we can explain what we just said and you can have the floor.
Okay.
Some of it. You don't
Yeah.
have to tell them all.
Okay, estábamos hablando de. Él me preguntó que si yo creía que el cuco era verdad o no. Yo digo que pues que sí y no, pero que sí, porque después yo pienso que es como que
Tú diste una hipótesis.
Yo di una hipótesis, como que
No lo admitió.
no lo admití, pero sí dije que de pequeño tuve esa fobia, esa paranoia, ese temor, ¿verdad? Y yo creo que cada uno de nosotros pues lo ha tenido alguna vez, ¿verdad? Él dijo que sí, que él confirma que es real, porque es tu mente quien lo hace real. ¿Entiendes? Y eso tiene mucho sentido lo que él dice. Un hombre muy inteligente, ¿no entiendes? Entonces, y nada, hice una historia que yo iba para mi casa y corté por casa de mi vecino Héctor, que nos conocemos de toda la vida. Y él me asustó y era oscuro, yo corrí como un loco. Y cuando llegué a casa, ahí que yo realizo, mira, este fue fulano que me asustó. Yo vi como un monstruo, ¿tú me entiendes? Porque estaba tan oscuro. A veces la mente te juega trucos.
Right.
Y eso pasa, eso pasa. Tú sabes que a quién le pasa mucho eso, a los camioneros. Cuando guían muchas horas largas y van por sitios bien oscuros, pues se ven gente que le cruza y no hay
Right.
nadie. Es la misma vista, el
It's
cerebro.
hallucinating from not sleeping
Sí.
enough.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess the moral of the story is, one, parents, don't teach that to your kids.
No.
It can be very traumatizing. Two, the power of the brain is so of the mind, the thought,
Oh, yeah.
how you can project images in your mind is insanely, like, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it into words, but I'm going to use majestic and how amazing the brain is, right?
Yeah, el cerebro es algo increíble. Okay.
Right. So I think that for us, that the moral of the story is that the boogeyman is real in every culture.
Oh, yeah.
It has its own interpretation and story and its own lesson to teach little kids, because it hasn't said anything about adults. And just know that the title boogeyman is not something you want to have on your resume, unless you're a hired hitman or
Yeah, right. Like John Wick.
or somebody who knows they're gonna do time, right? Yeah, I think that kind of ends the boogeyman origins. It wasn't, the sad part about it is that there's no real origin outside of knowing that it started in the 15th century.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot more to go on for some other cryptids, and those are always interesting because you find like that one point. But this ties in with 3 other ones that we did that don't have an origin, right? And it doesn't even predate, like the other ones went as far as ancient Sumerian biblical text. This did not go that far.
No.
Or no mention of it was made in any other text that we consider prominent in our lives, right? All in all, I think it's a great.
I got a text here talking about that. That's curious. So, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walk about seeking who he may devour.
There you go.
That's the boogeyman right
maybe
there.
the devil is the boogeyman.
You never know.
So yeah. Folks, we are coming to an end. We have about 3 more minutes. We just want to take the time to say thank you for participating and watching the podcast, and shout out to everyone who joined. We're excited for season 2. I think it's gonna be great. All in all, I think it was a great warm up, I guess, say the least. A great warm up to getting ready for that. We will do one more audio podcast before the show starts. And we're just trying to figure out if we should post a request, a user request, to see if they, or viewer request to see if what they want, and give them a couple of options.
Yeah.
And we'll do a little research and digging on the next cryptid or scenario, because I was thinking, we've talked enough about monsters, but there are some stories that are very well documented and real. Area 51 stuff.
There's a lot of stuff
pertaining to
FBI cases and stuff
abductions and things like that. So I think we should put a couple of those and see what happens. So yeah, the boogeyman.
Hi.
There's a monster in my closet.
The boogeyman, I guess, is interesting. I guess just remains enigma.
Like enigma. Here you go.
So I'm gonna leave it at that.
I just want to give a shout out to all the people that were in the chat, and especially to Juanca Rosario. I think he's the nephew of Toño Rosario, the original Cuco. Thank you. Corali says, awesome, guys. Come back, guys. Can't wait for October 6th. Yep. We're going to go. Yvette. Shout out to Yvette. Shout out to Keith Dan, Warlord, Corrales, Jacob, and Mirla Barbosa. Shout out to all of you. Thank you for your support, guys. Gracias por el apoyo a todos los del chat.
So
que pueden llamar a los números y dejarnos su información.
There you go, guys. We're signing off.
I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am. I'm here to do whatever I can. Be an early morning.